A single joke can change everything. It can make a career, define an era, or in the case of Ruth Buzzi, completely destroy a future that once seemed unstoppable. In 1970, Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In was the most watched show on television, a fast-paced comedy machine that kept America laughing week after week. And Ruth Buzzi? She was one of its brightest stars. She had impeccable timing, an unforgettable presence, and a knack for stealing every scene she was in. Audiences adored her. Hollywood was calling. Her career was set to skyrocket. Then, one night, during what should have been just another sketch, Ruth said something that would send shockwaves through the industry. Within hours, powerful people were making phone calls. Within days, sponsors were backing out. And soon after that, the FBI, yes, the actual Federal Bureau of Investigation, was watching her every move. Producers were pressured to erase the footage, and Ruth's once thriving career began to fade. Not because of a scandal, not because of a crime, but because of a single joke. The question is, what did she say, and why was it considered so dangerous? The answer is far darker than anyone imagined. By 1970, Ruth Buzzi was more than just a comedian. She was a household name, a performer whose mere presence on screen could guarantee a laugh. Her signature characters on Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In weren't just funny, they were unforgettable. She had a talent for transforming into almost anyone. But no character defined her career more than Gladys Ormsby, the perpetually grumpy, steel bun-wearing woman with an iron grip on her oversized purse. Gladys was the kind of character audiences instantly recognized, a timeless mix of sass, sarcasm, and slapstick violence. When she swung that handbag, even Hollywood legends like Dean Martin and Frank Sinatra played along, pretending to recoil in pain. But Ruth's brilliance wasn't just in the physical comedy. Her delivery was sharp, her expressions perfectly exaggerated, and her ability to hold her own against some of the biggest stars in entertainment proved she wasn't just another variety show performer. She was a force in comedy. Hollywood was taking notice. By the late 60s, Ruth was being courted for movies, voice acting, and headlining roles. She had already won a Golden Globe, and with multiple Emmy nominations under her belt, it was clear that her career was only going in one direction, up. Then came the night that changed everything. It wasn't a scandal. It wasn't controversy in the way the public usually saw it. No headlines, no breaking news, just a joke, one that the wrong people heard, one that was never supposed to be spoken on television. And suddenly, the career that had seemed unstoppable, it started to disappear. On the surface, Ruth Buzzi's joke was just another punchline in Laugh-In's rapid-fire delivery, quick, witty, and seemingly harmless. But the moment the words left her mouth, the air in the studio shifted. The laughter was there, but it wasn't the usual explosive, carefree reaction. It was stifled, uneasy, as if the audience wasn't sure whether they should be laughing at all. At first, even Ruth didn't think much of it. In a show packed with bold political humor, it wasn't unusual for jokes to ruffle a few feathers. After all, Laugh-In had mocked presidents, lampooned world leaders, and poked fun at social issues every single week. But this time, something was different. Behind the scenes, NBC executives were already in damage control mode. Calls were coming in from sponsors, some expressing concerns, others outright threatening to pull their funding. The show's producers, accustomed to controversy, were suddenly struggling to contain something far bigger than an upset advertiser. The problem wasn't just the joke itself. It was what it implied. Ruth had unknowingly referenced a government matter so sensitive that even acknowledging it publicly could have consequences. The sketch itself was never meant to be taken seriously, but the wrong people were paying very close attention. And then, before the night was even over, NBC received a call that changed everything. What started as a backstage panic quickly escalated into something far more serious. At first, it seemed like a standard case of network censorship, TV executives trying to smooth things over with angry sponsors or government officials. But within days, it became clear that this was no ordinary controversy. Ruth Buzzi wasn't just dealing with complaints from advertisers, she was being watched. Reports surfaced that FBI agents had contacted NBC directly, demanding details about the segment. They weren't just asking for context or clarifications. They wanted to know who wrote the joke, where the information came from, and whether it had been intentional. It was as if they believed that Ruth, or someone on Laugh-In, had leaked something they weren't supposed to know. Behind closed doors, Laugh-In's producers were warned to stay quiet. There were whispers that someone in Washington, someone high up, was personally involved. The network was under pressure, but nobody was willing to say from where. And then there were the strange occurrences. Ruth started getting anonymous calls at odd hours, voices on the other end telling her to let it go. She noticed unmarked cars parked near her home. Friends in the industry, people she had worked with for years, began acting differently around her, hesitant to speak openly, as if afraid of being associated with her. By the time the FBI officially denied ever investigating Laugh-In, it was too late. The damage had been done. Ruth Buzzi, one of television's most beloved comedians, had become a name that people in Hollywood were afraid to mention. And the worst part? She never even knew exactly why. Ruth Buzzi didn't disappear overnight. That's not how Hollywood works. Careers don't always crash in a fiery explosion. Sometimes they fade out quietly, with no clear explanation. One minute, she was one of Laugh-In's most recognizable faces. The next, she was being phased out, replaced by fresher talent, given fewer and fewer lines. At first, it seemed like a normal career shift. Laugh-In was known for its revolving door of talent. Actors came and went all the time. But something about Ruth's departure felt different. It wasn't just that she was getting fewer sketches. It was that producers stopped returning her calls. Directors who once praised her suddenly seemed hesitant to cast her, and major networks that had been courting her for leading roles lost interest all at once. Hollywood's silent blacklist isn't like an official government document. It's an unspoken understanding. No one tells you you're done. They just stop picking up the phone. And that's exactly what happened to Ruth. The comedy scene, once wide open to her, started closing its doors, and opportunities that had seemed inevitable, her own variety show, leading sitcom roles, bigger movie parts, never materialized. She pivoted to voice acting and smaller guest appearances, staying in the industry but never regaining the momentum she had before. To audiences, it looked like she had simply moved on, choosing a quieter career. But behind the scenes, there was a different story. A woman who had gone from being one of television's biggest names to a question mark that no one wanted to acknowledge. And the strangest part? Even Ruth herself never fully understood why. For decades, Ruth Buzzi's career decline was brushed off as just another case of Hollywood's fickle nature. Some assumed she had simply fallen out of favor, while others believed she had chosen to step back from the spotlight. But behind the scenes, whispers persisted. Rumors that her career hadn't faded naturally, but had been deliberately silenced. Then, in recent years, newly declassified government documents revealed something shocking. During the early 1970s, intelligence agencies were actively monitoring television broadcasts, not just for political messaging, but for any comments, jokes, or offhand remarks that might accidentally expose classified information. And while the documents don't specifically name Laugh-In or Ruth Buzzi, they do reference an unaired television segment that resulted in immediate suppression at the network level. Historians and entertainment analysts began connecting the dots. Laugh-In was one of the most politically charged shows of its time, and its rapid-fire humor often poked fun at the most powerful figures in the country. If Ruth had unknowingly referenced something that wasn't supposed to be public knowledge, it's not hard to see why the government would have acted so quickly. But the real mystery is, what exactly did she say? No official transcripts exist, and the original tape has never surfaced. Some crew members from that era claim they remember the moment. One even described it as a joke about someone who wasn't supposed to be laughed at. But if that's true, it raises an even bigger question. Who was so powerful that a single joke about them could end a comedian's career? And just as mysteriously as the footage disappeared, so did the controversy. It was erased, buried under decades of Hollywood history, until now. What do you think happened that night? Was it really just an innocent joke? Or did Ruth Buzzi accidentally say something that powerful people wanted erased? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you love lost Hollywood scandals and TV's biggest cover-ups, check out this next video. You won't believe what they tried to hide from the public. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss an upload. Thanks for watching.